So thanks everyone for joining us today. Thanks for making the time to attend this webinar. My name is Deepak Kanogia. I'm the Key Account Manager for Industrial IoT. I look after here New South Wales and Queensland, Australia. I've been in this position for about 12 years. Previous to that, I was in internal sales, online, what they call nowadays. So let's start with the second screen. So box PCs have been around for a long time. We've been offering box PCs for more than 20 years, I guess. They've come a long way from what they were before. Previously, they were just very basic units, not capable of doing very much. But in the time with processing power increase, units have become quite powerful and quite rugged as well. They're capable of having eye-level processors, whereas previously before they were only running very low-level processors, very low processing, basically just network controlling, not much else for that. For use. So now that they are capable of having high processing power, and automation industry, control industry doesn't really always require a high amount of processing power, these become ideal to be used in that industry. But having said that, these aren't only used in automation, they're used throughout industry. For example, electricity monitoring. These are used for monitoring electricity grid, and also for energy monitoring buildings. I have a customer that uses these to monitor the power usage and water usage in buildings around the world, and they can monitor that from a central site. So these are quite powerful in what they can do these days. They're very rugged, rated up to 70 degrees in temperature. They can run at that temperature all day, every day. A lot of our competitors, they only rate it up to the maximum of that temperature, but our UNO units are rated to the temperature that's on the data sheet, but they can run at that temperature all day, every day. And a lot of them can even go higher than that. Some units, for example, that are rated 70 degrees can work up to 90 degrees for short periods of time, and they run fine. They don't shut down. They run absolutely fine. So we'll look at the first series. This is the 2000 series. This is probably our most popular series of units. These have been around for probably about 12, 15 years or so. They start from very basic small size units, what we call pocket size, to mid-size units, which we call small size, and the regular size units. The main differences with these being is the small size units are quite compact, but they are low power. Because they are physically so compact, they can't really dissipate the heat as much, so they need to be low power, but they also are very cost-effective units. And they can be used in any sort of application that you can think of where processing power is not required that much, but you need a small size. Having said that, even though they are small and low processing power, they still offer more than what was offered a few years ago in high power units. They can be used on their own with the I/O as it is, or they can be extended using our idle modules, which I'll just talk about in a second here. These units, what's the difference between using a box PC and a regular PC? Box PCs are fanless. They're easier to install. There's no moving parts if you use nowadays solid state media, which is common, such as a solid state drive or a compact flash or MSATA. They're very easy, very versatile to use. With these smaller units, with our 2000 series, they're quite versatile as well. Not every customer needs all the features that are on there, so they can either it's not enough for them, in which case they can add extra ports and extra storage if required and extra comms. It's always difficult to have a one size fits all category with these units. So this is why we've made our units, the 2000 series and other units as well, very customizable. So customers can change them and suit them, customize them to their requirement. Very modular design, which also keeps the cost down as well. So this is the category, the three main categories you can say. Pocket size units, which sort of start off with the Intel Atom lower end unit, to the mid-size, small size units, which use Still an Atom unit, but it's a more powerful Atom unit, and also the Celeron J1900, which is a quite powerful CPU in its own respect. And then we've got the high spec units as well, which is capable of supporting an i-series processor, 8 gig of RAM as well. And because they're physically bigger, there's more real estate to add extra I/O, such as COM ports, Ethernet ports. You can see on the photo there on the right, the 2484. It's got 4 LAN ports and 4 USBs and a couple of big display outs as well. And the other side will probably have some COM ports there as well. Now, the beauty of these 2000 series is that these can be they're modular design, so you can actually add extra ports or extra comms or whatever you require using our iDoor installation kits. So these allow each unit, if a customer requires more ports or comms, to add the extra stack and to install extra ports or whatever they need. I'll go through the next slide. You can see the iDoor modules that are available. So these modules are broken up to 3 different categories. So industrial I/O, so you talk about COM ports or USB ports or Ethernet ports, or you can have communication modules, so such as Wi-Fi or 4G modules, and GPS. So each unit can have a GPS and a 4G module. So if it's out in the field, you know which unit it is, where it is, and what it's doing. And of course, industrial field bus, so things like CAN bus, Profibus, Ethernet cards as well. So this is a look at the iDoor modules. So as I mentioned before, there's a whole host of cards that are available in the iDoor module that can be installed. So everything from extra Ethernet ports, gigabit ports, to COM ports, to wireless communications. I mentioned Wi-Fi, wide temperature 4G modules if it's out in the field, out in the middle of nowhere, and you need something that's high temperature. Got high temperature modems as well. And of course, the industrial field bus modules as well, so CAN bus, Profibus, EtherCAT, and so forth. Now we can also customize units as well. So Advantech has always been very great and forward in offering customization to customers. So either you can take the bare unit without badging, or have your own name on there to make it easy, or you can even have the standard unit, but you may want the standard unit to come with extra ports or extra connectivity in terms of Wi-Fi or any EtherCAT or CAN bus cards as well. And we can do this by using the stacks which I mentioned before. So in the top, you've got a small unit. It's only got 2 Ethernet ports, but if you require extra ports, Wi-Fi ports, and here you've got the unit with an extra Wi-Fi port or 4G port as well. So thirdly, second stack, you can actually add 2 stacks. So if you need extra ports in terms of comms and USB, but you also need extra comms ports as well, so you can add a second stack as well. And there's another example. So you've got normal COM ports, and also if you need a CAN bus as well. Again, so that's with the small unit. With the bigger units, they're capable of accepting 2 iDoor modules. So if you wanted to, you can have extra COM ports as well as Wi-Fi as well. So that's all built into the one unit. This is for the mid-spec unit, which is an Intel Atom units, also with a Celeron as well. And these units are quite powerful. Even though people hear Atom and Celeron, they think it's not very powerful, but these days these units are quite powerful, and they can run Windows operating system fine without any issue. With the larger units, so the full-size units, these are, again, you've got more physical real estate, so you can actually add a lot of ports or storage on these units. So in these units, you can see the top unit has extra COM ports. The middle unit actually has hot swappable SSDs or hard drives that if you need. So that makes it quite versatile in the field. If you have a unit that's a mission critical application, you can easily add, you can easily add 2 SSDs and have an array configuration, so they're hot swappable, so you can just swap one out. Lastly, there's a kit there that can actually allow you to install 4 mini PCI cards as well. So if you want to have, you could have 2 modems or a modem, Wi-Fi card, etc. It's quite versatile. Also, mini PCI card as well. So what about applications? So, I mean, obviously these are used in industry. There's a lot of different application areas which this could be used in a single factory. For example, digital signage. We have a unit that's actually showing, what's happening, whatever you want to show, what's happening in the factory. You can have a unit for production line for mobile access or security or barcode entry. A simple unit that doesn't require a full-size PC. You just want something small in the corner. These units are ideal for that. HMI edge gateway. So you can have, if you've got a PLCs and you want to get that data onto the network. Again, a small unit, DIN-rail mount somewhere, be very easy to, very cost-effective solution as well. So light PC application. So if you've got a workstation, again, you want a barcoder, just putting in information into the network, it's a very cheap, easy option as well. The Uno series also have what they call Pixie boot, so this can boot from LAN. It's used with Thin Manager, so if you have a Thin Manager server elsewhere, the units will, once they're powered up, they can automatically boot by boot from LAN, and will find the ACP server and connect to it. And this way, you don't need any storage. The unit just needs to be powered up. Everything's on board already, and it can start up and start talking to the server straight away. So what about applications? What application? This is a smart parking application where you need to have a unit with a CAN bus talking to sensors on the ground. You also need some connectivity in terms of Wi-Fi. So you can take a standard unit, add a stack, add the CAN bus card, have a Wi-Fi card as well, and bang, you're talking to the network, and you've got sensors all over your network, and you can talk to them. Other networks, other applications where I've personally supplied these units is in, as I mentioned, with building energy management. So a customer who's actually using these to monitor power and water usage around buildings. In mining, these are heavily used in mining. I'm a customer that uses this to monitor and control conveyor belts, control system, and also materials handling. They have units running Windows, and they talk to their sensors via RS-232 and ports. So, in terms of the process hierarchy, Unos can be used throughout that hierarchy. You've got low-level units, so you can use it on the factory floor as an edge gateway. You've got sensors coming into the unit, which then puts it into the cloud or higher up to a SCADA or MES or ERP package as well. These units, the lower spec units, the lower cost units can be used lower down, and as you get higher up, you need more processing power. You can use the higher end units with the I series CPU. So this is one of the new units that we have coming out, the Uno 247. It's quite a low cost but very effective unit using Intel Palo Lake Celeron CPU. It's a very versatile unit. It's got a lot of ports on as well. It's designed for factory application, edge application. So if you have a lot of you have sensors on your factory, you can easily have these connected to this, and then get that onto your network. This might be of interest to a few people. This is actually a case for Raspberry Pi. So Raspberry Pi is quite popular in home and domestic use, but people do use it in industry, and as such, I guess there must be a market. So we actually offer a chassis and an I/O board as well that can be used. So this is a very basic unit. Customers supply their own Raspberry Pi board, but allows you to do development and leverage the ecosystem that is Raspberry Pi. There's so much information out there. If you have a basic application, this could well be suited. We can supply the chassis and the I/O board. Custom supplies the actual Raspberry Pi board themselves. And as I mentioned, there's so much support out there for these type of units. It may be something that customers look at for a very low cost application in the future. Okay, so this is a new unit that we have coming out as well. It's basically what's called a protocol converter, but what it basically means is, so if you have old legacy items such as PLCs or even old machinery, as we know in automation control, machinery and IT equipment has a very long lifespan. So customers still using equipment that's 20 years old, and you want to be able to get that information onto your current cloud or onto your network. So this is a new RISC-based unit, basically allows legacy equipment or PLCs to be connected to your network, runs on Linux, and you can use it with our web access EdgeLink software to connect to digital I/O tags as well. And again, it's expandable as well, so the expansion kits available if you want to have digital input-output. You can even have Wi-Fi and 4G on there if it's a remote site, if you want to do something remote as well. So this is the roadmap for the 2000 series. We can see that the smaller units and the mid-range units that we all spoke about before, they have been in mass production for a while. There are some new units coming online later this year and also early next year and even mid next year, which are quite high spec. You're talking about sort of 9th generation Intel i-Core processors, so i3, i5, i7, so 9th generation that's due to come out next year as well. Okay. So I'll just slow down a little bit here. I think I'm going a bit faster. This is the control cabinet PCs. So we've spoken about the 2000 series, which is quite popular and quite versatile, but we also have other series as well. Look at the 1000 and the 3000 series. So the 1000 series is a DIMM rail, small DIMM rail mount unit. They're compact, easily mountable on a DIMM rail and a panel. Again, different CPU levels are available as well. So you've got basic Intel Atom processors right up to sort of a bit more powerful i5, i3 processors as well. Again, these support the iDoor modules as well. So even though they're compact DIMM rail mount, you can still have a lot of versatile in them as well. The 3000 series with a physically bigger unit. So these are quite big units. Now you're getting to units which can actually support external cards. They're sort of 4U in height, getting quite large. So they're designed for additional cards. So if you have a factory application where you need to have extra cards, then these ones are best suited for that application. So look at the 1000 series first. This is, as I mentioned, it's a DIMM rail, small form factor. They have front I/O and LED indicator, so it's all on the one side. So when you install into a panel, you can see exactly what's going on and what the unit is doing. These also have a wide range of power inputs, remote power option as well, which is basically, so the units can be set so if there's a power failure, then power is reapplied, the units boot up again. There's no need to open the cabinet to turn the units back on. They will power on by themselves. They have dual power input, so again, if you've got a critical application, you may need to have, you can supply secondary power, and that will keep the unit going. Normally, power supply is it's probably the biggest cause of a PC is not working. So if you have a dual supply, which these units can supply, then you can have a unit that's quite robust and stable. So these, as I mentioned, they're scalable CPUs, so you can use start up from the Intel Atom or a basic CPU right to higher end CPU. Easy maintenance, so these they have also easy access to the CMOS battery as well, and dual storage support. So even though these units are small, again, they support dual storage as well. So you could have your operating system on the mSATA and then have a secondary hard drive for your data, which is less critical. Just continuing on from that, as I mentioned, they DIMM rail mountable, easy to view what's happening on the units, dual power input. These also have a wide range power input as well, 10 to 36 volts. So a lot of the units will support, so which is a common 12, 24, 36 volts used in automation, 24 volts being the most common, I guess. These are suited for that, so you can use a wide range of power input. You can use it for that. These also have isolated I/O. So in industry, the I/O, the COM ports, the serial ports, they do have isolation, optical isolation. So if they are connected to other machinery and there is a short somewhere, then these are isolated. They won't ruin the Uno, or if anything else that the Uno is connected to as well. Yeah, and as I mentioned, we look at the CPU specs. They range from basic Cortex A8 to up to i3, i5, i7 CPUs. There's built-in digital I/O as well for units as well. So if you are monitoring some basic application, then there's no need to add additional cards or any additional modules like add modules, for example. These also, a lot of them have dual support for displays as well, so you can have a look at what's happening at the screen or further down the tray. Again, these support expansion as well, so mini PCI slots inside them for IDOR expansion. So again, you can have field bus, CAN bus, PCI, mini PCI cards, you can add them as well. And as I mentioned about the storage, there's a lot of the units support dual storage, so you can have like a mini MSATA for the operating system, and a hard drive or a solid state drive for data if you're collecting data or trending, etc. This is the range of the 101 series, 1000 series. You can see there's some new units coming out as well, which is the Uno 1372, which is a J1900 unit, which, as I mentioned, J1900 is quite a powerful unit. There's also the Uno 1372, which is a Class 1 Div 2 certified unit. This is used in hazardous areas. So, for example, oil and gas industry has a minimum requirement for this sort of PCs if they're used out in the field. All the units will support Windows operation from Windows operating system from Windows CE right up to Windows 10. All of them support Linux as well, which is quite used in the industry. So this is a new unit, which is the 100 series, which is coming out soon. This is a real-time embedded controller. It's as CPU processing gets higher and higher, these units become more powerful. But having these units, just having these units with a real-time operating system, they can again, these can accommodate IDOR modules as well. So if you use this with our web access Navi packages, then you're able to have quite a powerful system again. Again, these are modular in design, so you can actually add IDOR modules and extra I/O as needed. They're very easy to be mountable. They're DIN-rail mount, quite easy to mount. These also meet the IEC 61010 compliance, which is a standard that's used in industry and for laboratory management as well. It's got a new standard, but these units do meet that. And also these have used the M.2 storage as well. So we've got the old 2.5-inch SSD or MSATA. These also support the newer, faster type of storage, the M.2. TPM, which is a security standard as well on here, which these units support, and also 4G, 5G modules as well. So even they're quite small units, you can have 4G, 5G module. Very slim, and again, we can do rebranding with these as well. It's whatever the customer needs. So I can either get rid of the name or have your own name on here. It's not a problem. This is the design. I don't know if this video will play here. Try to play this. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a demo showing how it's easy to latch onto the DIN-rail the units. Okay, so the units, so the CPU used in these units is we use a long-term roadmap. So when we design a unit in, the CPU chosen usually has a long lifetime, usually 10 years minimum. We can supply up to 15 years because we do a last time buy. So these particular units are expected to be in production for up to 10 to 15 years easy. Again, some of the specs I mentioned before, they can take a M.2 storage or 2.5-inch storage. Trusted platform module, again, which is for hardware security for your device. So whatever you're sending, it's secure. These some aspects of the 137, which is due to be launched in August of this year. It's a polar atom processor, 8G RAM on board, M.2 storage, 2.5-inch SS drives, SSD. So this is quite a new unit, and it's quite powerful what it is. It's very compact, but it's still able to do a lot of features which previous years you would have needed a full-size PC. That's all available in a small unit that can be terminal mounted. So it's very, very, very easy to use in the industry. There's always applications for it. So this is the roadmap of the real-time embedded controllers. There's units already out there, 1372, the 1483 UNOs, the UNO 137, which is the one we spoke about, that's due to come out later this year in Q3, Q2 next year, and Q2 even Q1 2022. We've got even higher specs still coming out as well. So as time goes by, these units will get more and more compact and more powerful. So let's look at the 3000 series now. So we've looked at 2000 series and the 100 1000 series. So these are units which are physically bigger. So the limitations with the smaller units is you cannot add any extra cards inside. But if you have an industrial application and you need to have a sort of a CAN bus or a Profibus card or some other card, communications card, your proprietary card, then these units come into play. So these 3000 range from Atom processor right up to i3, i5, i7 processors. This is the complete range here. So they start off with the Celeron 1900, which, as I said, is quite a powerful unit, right up to i7 units and i3 as well. So look at the 3272 unit, which is successor to the 3073, which is the older unit. So this is a unit which is capable of supporting a PCI card or a PCIe card, customer requires. So these units physically are now getting bigger. So this is what previously in previous years customers would have used a full-size PC like an ATX motherboard, etc. And that would have not been fanless, of course. So these days you can sort of have a fanless PC. And be able to still have your card inside it as well. It's got a plethora of IOs on board, VGA, dual power input, your COM ports are standard. So this is a very versatile unit. You just put in your plug and away you go. You've got a fanless system that can be used for at least 7 to 10 years out in the field without any issues. And that's quite reasonable as well. The units we have installed, that customers have installed inside, it's not unusual for them to continue working for up to 10 years. And even then they're still working, the customer just decides they want to upgrade or change the system somehow. So these units are quite versatile, and customers can also install cards themselves. They're quite easy to access to remove the top covers for maintenance and expansion. One of the things I'll mention about the UNOs is all of our UNO units, they do not have any internal cabling, so they're all boards with the IO connectors soldered on. So there's no internal cabling for wires going to your RS232 board or comms board or anything. It's all kept to a minimum, so it's a great unit if you're using in a high vibration environment or any sort of vibration environment as well. Again, these have a dual power input, 10 to 36 volts, and they're quite easy to access and quite easy to support. Okay, so there's also a cheap versions of these as well, which I'll just quickly go through. So if you don't need the extra hassle, if you don't need the extra cost of having SSDs that are front removable or easy access to them, and you want low cost. If you're rolling them out in high numbers, you want low cost, then you can use something like this this unit. It still supports iDoor module, so you can expand it. But what if you need extra ports? So why would you use this unit? So as I mentioned, so there's no, compared to some of the other units, this unit doesn't have a front removable storage hard drives, so you can remove that, so which cuts out on cost. So as I mentioned before, there's flexible expansion with these units. You can add PCI cards. high performance. There's i3, i5, i7 processor with comprehensive I/O, and again use the iDoor to add more I/O if required. Dual power input 10 to 36 volts as well, so it's a typical operating voltage. Covers easily removable and easy access for customers to install or remove cards. It's not very difficult. And if you do have two SSDs, you can have a RAID system coming up as well. Again, with the I/O expansion, you've got the options that we spoke about there before with the iDoor, CAN bus, Profibus, Profinet, Ethernet, and Ethernet IP. You also have a chance to. You also got option there to have a LoRa or Sigfox cards as well. So if you are running low power devices out in your field, then that is something you can use with these units as well. This is the roadmap, which I won't go through too much detail, but yeah, so the next units that are coming out in 2021 Q2 are the 10th generation I processors. So we looked at the basic units that are used in automation and factory, etc. But just domain focus as well. So we've got some units that are coming out recently, which the new one is Uno 420. This is a power over Ethernet unit. So this is actually powered from your Ethernet cable. So if you do have an installation where it's difficult to get power to, but you already do have an existing network cable there, then a unit like this would be very easy to install it, use the Ethernet that you have there already, and use a PoE device to power the device, and you've got a unit that's quite easily installed but it's running on PoE. Again, this unit is quite powerful as well. It's capable of having SIM inside as well. So you've got a 4G module. You can have a 4G module. So if it's an isolated area, you can talk to it quite easily. So Intel Atom-based unit with 2 gig of RAM on board. Even though it's a small unit, again, it can run on Windows 10 or Linux platform. So they're quite versatile. And you can install it anywhere. Typical application is in manufacturing or out in the field anywhere. So mining environment or building environment, especially building environment. If you're in a roof cavity, you've got your Ethernet, but you don't have power there, then something like this would be ideal for that. You would still need a cabinet to install into, which can be an issue. So this next unit here, which is 430, this is a very new unit, and this is an IP66 rated unit. This is designed for application out in somewhere like a mining environment. It's designed for oil and gas as well. It's C1 D2 certified as well, which is a minimum spec that oil and gas use. And this is a very new unit which is due out this quarter. In fact, it has a wide operating temperature, 40 to 70 degrees. It's IP66 all around, so it's very secure in that respect. It's easily wired. This uses M12 connectors. Can be mounted anywhere, using pole mount as well. It can be mounted directly onto a side. You don't need to install onto a panel, which is what you previously would have needed to do. So this unit, it's very cost saving unit as well. Again, you can have 4G modules and Wi-Fi GPS as well. It's quite a powerful unit as well. It's E3950 processor. It also supports the M.2 storage as well. It's also got the onboard TPM security module as well. There's a standard SIM slot, so if you put a 4G or 5G module, it's got provisions for 5G module as well, so you can have that in the future if you want to future-proof it. Operating temperature is minus 40 to 50 degrees, which is quite good for these units, so it can be out in the field direct sunlight. It's not an issue for it. So traditionally, to compare it against some of the other units, like the 1000 series, you would need to have a unit, you would need to have a cabinet, a power supply to install into. Whereas this unit, you can just install directly into the field with obviously your outdoor rated, IP rated power supply as well. Just some more photos of the unit. So you can see it's got M12 connectors all around for the connections, and got the SMA at top for your Wi-Fi and your 4G, 5G, and GPS antenna as well. Just some more images again of the unit. So it's quite versatile, and it's okay. So let's so these units, these three units, the UNO 1372GH, the UNO 1410, and the 430 that we just looked at, they're all Class 1 Div 2 certified, so which is the requirement for using oil and gas offerings. So as a safety, which is normally for hazardous areas, which is normally a safe area, but there are instances where it could get to a dangerous level, and these so you need to have that certification, which all these meet. Just look at the roadmap. The UNO 420 is available at the moment. 1372 has been in production for the last few years. UNO 410 that we spoke about, that's due out later this year, and the 430, which is being released now as we speak, I think. So you can see that units have come a long way from basic units that did very little, running very low power operating system, up to units which are available now, which is an I-series processors, and together with things like our web access or WisePass software, you can have a unit that's quite powerful and quite versatile, especially with the idle modules, and have them do a lot more than what they're capable of doing previously. And as it goes along, future goes along, there's going to be, the units are going to get more and more powerful, and the software gets connectivity gets easy with the software, and they're quite powerful. So just to summarise what we spoke about a lot of different units, and it's easy to lose track. But so I've got the small DIN rail units, which are compact, low power, low cost units, pocket size units, which are again sort of low cost but slightly high power, compact size, quite versatile as well. Then we've got the small size, which are again a bit more powerful than the pocket size, but they're still quite powerful, and they do have a higher I/O count. So you can have more ports on the units, because as units get physically bigger, there's more real estate for connectors, etc. And then you've got the regular size units, which again have a higher count, and also a higher processing power. So i3, i5, i7 CPUs available in that size. You've got wall mount units, or units that are able to accommodate cards. They can again vary from low cost, low power unit up to quite high processing power, and you can have multiple cards in there as well. Then we've got the IP66 rated units. You've got very good connectivity. You can install it out in the field. There's no issue there, and it's called Class 1 Div 2 certified. And the last one I spoke out, so that's the Power Ethernet unit, which again, it's ease of installation. If you've got a unit, if you've got existing Ethernet there, but you just want to have a PC as well, you can use this unit. So with so many units available, how do we choose which unit to use? I guess the question to ask the customer is what is the application? Are they doing something difficult, or are they doing something simple, where a small PC could be used? Or do they need a higher spec CPU? Is there an environmental restrictions? Is it outdoor? Is it hazardous? Do you need to have that extra cost of having a certified solution? Is there any size restrictions? If it has to go to a small cabinet where there's existing equipment there, or if it's going to a new machine that they're building, is there restrictions there? If data redundancy, do they need to have something that's is it a mission critical unit? Do they need to have extra? Do they need to have a RAID or extra storage there? What about connectivity? Do they need Wi-Fi, 4G, or GPS modules? Customization, if the customers don't want to have the Advantech name, they want to have their own name, or no name, or different color, then we can do that as well. But lastly, I guess budget constraints. If there is any budget constraint, then that plays into it as well. So thank you for your attention.